another challenge, as we have addressing the challenges today. Yeah, we are live now addressing the key challenges which humanity is facing today. In our case, we were facing the challenges of technology. But we are here, we are at of the Wisdom Factory, and we want to talk about the challenges which we have as humanity. And there is Tammy, one of our core members, and she will talk about what she is doing to address exactly that. Okay, Tammy, I give over to you, and I mute myself. Maybe we others mute too, so that she can do a presentation, and then we will ask. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Heidi, and everyone for coming. It's interesting that we have had such challenges with the technology, and that's part of it. So the backstory in terms of what I've been up to over the last couple of months is that there's a small group of us that are putting together a proposal for the Global Challenges Foundation. And as they write it, the task is to design a governance model that can serve to help us with the greatest challenges and risks to humanity today. So, of course, many of us have spent a lot of time thinking about those things. And I guess what I would do is boil it down as simple as this. We need to work together. It's, for me, about a whole system approach, a whole self approach. And, today we've been dealing with the challenges of technology, but I think that one of the key challenges that we have is our interpersonal technology. How do we keep working together when it becomes difficult? And how do we deal within the paradigm of competition and transition to a place of a paradigm of cooperation? So I guess the bottom line for me is that every one of us on this planet brings value, and maybe that value is really being able to, I don't know, it's rich and wide and varied. And I think that the one of the fundamental pieces that I believe is that if we bring that value together, we can create a web of value, right? So the proposal writing process itself is about bringing people together to help to write it. And so there's a few folks who have put their hand up to help. And what I would love to do today is to kind of go through the key questions that I've posed and I would like to explore so that we can all get on the same page together, because I think that's the beginning place. What is the context that we're talking about? And what do we bring to the table? And what can we actually do? So the three questions that I'd love for us to explore as a way to kind of test this model is, what do you think the greatest challenges of the world are today? Are there any projects, ways of being and knowing, specific interventions, and protocols, processes that you think can help us? And what role would you like to play? So this is kind of a way for us to identify the context, look at some specific technologies, and that, for me, includes human interrelationship technologies, which I think is part of where we need to do a lot of good work. And what do you want to actually do? So I'm curious, within this group of people that I deeply respect, how we would answer those questions. And I'm just putting it out there for us to explore those together as our session today. Does that get a thumbs up? So I could start, but I would invite one of you to, and maybe we take it question by question. That feels good. Does anyone want to?
Yeah, I wanted to say we also need to address, if we want to talk, but it will come out, no, about the things which have to be done in the world and in the things which have to be done in the intercommunication between the people and intra communication. I don't know how to say that. So these three parts, I think, are valid, and I think we need to address all three of them and not only one. So,
yes.
If you want to begin, you probably are more in the topic than we are, so it would be fine. Okay.
Great. I will start then. So for me, there are a lot of challenges. I think the one that I'm really wanting to address is if I were to boil it to one, is how we work together. How do we collaborate? How do we cooperate? And how do we articulate our ideas, and how do we listen to others? And I think that that's a really broad way of saying it, but I think that that is one of the core pieces. We, to my mind, can't really see what's going on because there's so many overwhelming challenges that this is another issue.
Is she gone?
Frozen.
Yeah, frozen. Oh, here you are back. Okay, good. Continue.
Okay.
You were frozen forward.
So, yes. So, few glitches still with our technology today. But yes, I think that through a tapestry of thought, through being able to see wider through the eyes of others, we can better understand what's actually going on and move towards doing some common sense making. One of the pieces that I see in my relationships and in my communities is that there are thousands of people that I know personally that are really leaning into paradigm shifting work. And they're not just talking about it, they're doing it. They're building systems, they're relationships, they're addressing those challenges directly in their communities. And I think from each other, we need to see each other, and we need to lift up each other's work and say is something that's important. Did we glitch again?
Yeah, you were frozen a moment, but it's okay. I think we got the main thing. Shall we go ahead with somebody else for a moment, and then we might come back? Because I would have some questions then for you. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Monica or Gertraud?
We had a saloon yesterday in Vienna, and we talked about evolving dialogue and how a real dialogue comes into existence. And one of the clues were that I'm reading it and translating it while I'm reading it. When we are more interested in what we don't know than in what we know. And we practice Sharma's U-turn theory in a meditation, going down to...
I think you're back.
Tammy, she was here all the time. I think it's on your part. It is going a little bit up and down. So, okay.
Okay. And so how do we communicate? It always gets down to that. How do we communicate? How do we listen? And how do we dare to go where we don't know where we are going? This is something we all have discussed already. So what tools do we use to get there? Trust, resilience.
So I haven't heard anything for the last couple of minutes.
Oh, that's a shame.
That's the problem is on your part. Maybe you can at the same time go to the website and listen to earphones from there. I don't know, because she is here. Monica is here all the time. Okay.
The topic yesterday evening was the future of work.
From my cell phone.
So I guess Tammy is still frozen or doesn't hear. Okay. Anyway, it was a very interesting evening, and it was a pleasure to see, because we had 6 new people attending. So the interest in the integral theory and map is really without any advertisements. We are not online yet, our group. And still by word of mouth, people are drawn to us. So I don't know how to explain this kind of self-assurance you need and how to acquire it to tackle all these problems. And I wouldn't dare to, the topic, all the problems of the world, or how do we work out together when it gets difficult, that's easier to handle. So maybe we just break it down to the smallest part of how to communicate, and then I guess for everybody the problems are different. With regard to work, we found out that there will be a point where the tensions will get very strong because there won't be enough work. Robots will take over, and people are not skilled, have no training, and then the tensions will be very, very strong. Yeah, this was yesterday, and it's still very much on my mind. Oh God, what's she bringing? This is still very much on my mind. And having retired a long time ago and seeing what today's generation face regarding work, regarding a minimal income, well, I'm glad that I have lived most of my life already. It's a shame to see how people really struggle.
Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Now you will unmute yourself. Unmute yourself on the computer. I muted you before. On the computer, on top. On top.
So
okay.
It's not letting me join on my cell phone.
Okay. So I'm sorry if you don't hear it, that we are here. We have talked all the time, so sorry for that. So Monica has just talked about yesterday.
Interesting.
What she has realized about the attractiveness, let's say, of the integral idea, which is coming slowly into into evidence that people are attracted. And then she finished with saying that in the workplace, the present generations have so much more problems than our generations had. Is it right, Monica? Did I summarize that? Yeah, and I would like to continue and say it's about communication, yes. But, you know, we have problems of communicate if it's technical or, you know, also between friends and so, and husbands and wives and whatever. But we never think about how to communicate with those people who are not of our level of, let's say, either development, also cultural development, or also intelligence. You can say intelligence. There are some people who just don't have the background which we have. And we sort of assume that everybody is like us and they would understand everything. And so how can we tell them or communicate with them and understand what they need and what their ideas are, and still don't fall into, you know, the shorter worldview, let's say, which they represent, but keep ours, but without saying, oh, you are stupid, something like that. That seems to me one of the biggest challenges we have who want to change the world to a better, because it's sort of, we are sort of an insider circle of more evolved people in some way, you know. So how get we other people into the boat? That would be my view of a big challenge we have.
I just thought it's like pulsation. It's having the broader view and the insights and the communication in between. So facing that, how I see the world is for me. So when I think the world is a wicked place, or I think Einstein said the fundamental question is if we think the universe is a hostile place or not, or a supportive place. And how I perceive the world, how I see the world, that shapes how I am and how I am being with in communications, in whatever. And we have a perfect example in the American government with a worldview that only knows one way. And I think we have to see that there are trillions, gazillions ways of seeing the world. And it's more a matter of how we choose that the world is. And that shapes our being and our reacting to the occurring. And so the external is at the same time a very internal thing. How am I being? And so I behave. And so I see the world. So I interact with people. And what you said, Monica, about our work life will change dramatically because automation. So the decline in automatization and also the condensing of productivity. So one person has to product a lot more than 20 years ago. That will make this everybody needs to have work obsolete. We will not be able to give everybody work that will be paid by hours. So I think we need to to see more, what do want people participate, contribute to the world. So I think it's not a matter of how many hours do I work where, but to see what is really important to me, and then find ways that we all can be supported and all can live in a, like the basic income questions, or taxes for robot producing people, or whatever. We have to find other models that people are not defined by the paid work.
Right, that's one of the conclusions we came to. To me, it was very important that even in the smallest child, and then in the juveniles and in grown-ups, that you discover your talents, what really fills you with joy and creativity.
So I keep coming in and out of connectivity. And it's interesting that I can't hear Monia. But shall I move on to the second question, which Gertraud really started with?
No, let her first continue, Monica, and you might see it afterwards in the replay. Okay.
Heidi, you said how to get the others into the boat. Maybe that's the wrong perspective. Maybe we should jump into the ocean and tread water and meet them on how they strive. Could you repeat it for Tammy?
So the question which I said, how can we bring them into the boat? Monica said, it's better, maybe it's the wrong question. Maybe we should jump into the ocean and meet them there where they strive. Can you hear me, Tammy? Can you hear me? I think she can't, huh? Oh, Nadja.
What a shame.
Yeah.
Hey,
she came out. So let's continue with us this topic.
I think it's about what you started to say, Monica. It's about being able to be with not knowing, to breathe into what is unknown and have that not be the scary part. I mean, like, have a confidence that what we don't know might help us solve the problems. So we did an appreciative inquiry process with an international group. And the first part was what we called the bush. So what do we do with what's not working in the world? And not be shocked by it, not be just completely knocked out, that it still exists and we are still able to work and to do something. And what we called the future statement, or the provocative proposition, is what we came up with was, it's not as it seems. Be still and find the opportunities. And the second was dream come true. So among the bush, where do I find the clearance, or where I want to go? And the future statement we came up with was relax and be the miracle. And then the third one was the sword, so to say, the machete that goes through the bush and finds me the way to the clearance. And that was if I accept, appreciate, trust, act, and celebrate. So first to be with what's so, and find comfort in not knowing, be still, and then find new ways and appreciate what's so, what gifts do I have in this? And then trusting the outcome that I'm longing for, and then act, and not just jump to action because I cannot stand the not knowing, and I cannot stand how it is, and I make it wrong, and it should be different. So it's funny, this is 2 years ago or so, but they are still with me. It was a very intense process, and these 3 sentences, they're just like summing up what we can do, and how to be with it. And I love the relax and be the miracle. Yeah. So the world, how we see it, or how this is how we act. And if we create a world that's really in alignment with our inner desire, with our being, then we can just find other actions.
I often have a little bit of a problem to listen to the words, which are very nice. And then when I really see reality, I was about 4 weeks ago in the place where a year ago was the earthquake. They're it's all fallen down. The people are not in their houses. They have no houses for themselves. People who they cannot build new rebuild because before it's not approved, they don't get funding. And there is even the case that somebody has built a little wooden house for himself with a concrete floor, and he has to throw it down again on his own costs and things like that. When I see these things, I think it's not my way of seeing, what I'm struggling with. This is a reality which just is appalling and needs some real action, and I have no idea how to do that because the administration is what it is. So when I go there and see these things, I feel bad for myself, but mainly bad for the people who are trying to go on and get every possible stone and stock in the beine, every possible cut off, So there is a German, I think, is saying, he says, who has wer den Schaden hat, braucht für Spott nicht zu sorgen oder sowas, ne?
Who has the damage is not doesn't have to take care of the mocking.
Yeah, it has no shortage of people who are sort of laughing on them because the administration is laughing on them when they condemn them for the second year to be intense or to go away, So, I really am in conflict. I love these words and I love that. But when I see the real reality, I don't know.
So what do you suggest?
I don't know. I know that Tammy is more on the activist road. I don't know if this is the right road, but I think we should have this together, find all these parts together, the outside world, be activist in certain things, that become ourselves and know what really is our calling and what we can do. And, and also be comfortable with uncertainty, which is not easy, which has to do with us, and then find the way to get into contact with people who maybe need our help, maybe who need only support by being listened to or whatever, find a way to talk. For instance, in this case, find a way to talk with politicians or with the communal administration so that something changes. I find it at the moment it's like a wall. I see a wall in these things, as if I have no power to do anything against these established forces who are just running, like a in their own very, very slow path. And if it's important, I mean, we know, for instance, Aquila, that earthquake was about 10 years ago. It is still not rebuilt. It's still mostly and there has been money sent, and the money is gone. It's nowhere, and these things, they make me really, really angry. And I don't know if this is the solution, be quiet and be still, I don't hear you. Unmute yourself.
Okay.
It boils down to the same, that we have to learn to be able to face what we don't know, the unknown. And you called it tension. So just to sit back and reflect on your own reactions. We were very upset by the hurricane because these were our favorite vacation spots, Florida Keys, Sunnyvale Island. And I wrote about that to my friend, she's 80. And she said, well, it's a luxury to worry about when you are in safety. But my whole family was really downtrodden because we couldn't do anything. It's just nature, like the earthquake. You can't do anything against earthquakes or hurricanes. You have to sit it out. And sitting it out is very difficult for someone who is an activist. You can't expect an activist to sit it out. That's a contradiction in itself. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'm excited to report that I can see you and hear you, Monia.
Well, okay, I'm glad. Let's go back. What do you think the greatest challenges are? Question number 1.
Maybe we should proceed to the next question, but
well, are these the challenges in us or outside? Where are the challenges? Are the challenges outside or are they in us?
I think both.
Okay.
I think it's not either or. Like you said, Heidi, I'm not sitting there and just saying and that's it. But I guess there needs to be a calmness inside to find new solutions. There needs to be a coherence between right and left hemisphere and between body, between heart and mind, to find something that's not just a very short-lived solution. if you just jump to action. So it's about action, but the preconditions for action shouldn't be being angry at and then working against, and but finding a way, for example, to talk with authorities in a way that they listen, find ways of communication that we touch their hearts, and not just be angry and do something that, like in Hamburg with the G20. I mean, there were groups that were so violent that they didn't help their cause. And the cause was very important. And their anger was very rightful. But the way they acted was just that authorities could just close their walls and hide behind them. So I think accepting reality as it is and finding new ways is different than always fighting against what we don't like. And it's about action, always. But maybe not right jumping to that.
So I'll jump in if you all can hear me. It's interesting because when I hear the term activist, I don't identify as an activist. I think that part of that is that there's a cultural overlay of holding signs and standing against. And I think that part of what we need to do is bring the information to the people that need to have it to be able to influence a decision that's being activist. This, like, the way through is more to take action, right? It's not about holding. I think that we need to look at the things that aren't working, but it's, for me, what actions do we actually take to respond intelligently and with a whole system view to something. And so I love Gertraud, accepting what is, and those 3 sentences that I caught most of, because that's the first step. What are we looking at, and how does that what is present to us, and how do we, can we be reflective, like Monia was talking about, and be able to actually, craft this multiplicity of views so that we can see farther together. For me, I think that's part of what we need to do so that we can bring more on board. And
No, she's gone.
am I back? And you guys
Now you're back. We remained with "and." Bring more on board, and we didn't hear the rest of the sentence.
Yeah, bring more on board and really understand. Expand our understanding to include more perspectives than what we know ourselves. And I think through that process, we can broaden the pipe of what we see and be more inclusive, and do the inner work that it takes to be able to invest in a broader understanding of what's actually going on.
So I'm playing a little bit the devil's advocate today. So we are doing this. We are ready to do that. How many of us do we need to really make a difference? Because we cannot expect it, everybody to have the view which we have and do the work which we think we need to do. So what do you think can bring the real change? Not the or alone, the one person alone for sure. How many do we need?
I mean, I think that there are people like us all over the planet that are having these conversations right now. So, you know, there's a multiplicity of ways, and I don't know if it comes down to a vibrational, a vibrational coherence, and that's part of what I believe is that as we raise our vibration, we're able to understand more, and I don't know if we have to even be consciously in. I think it's important. I mean, this is what I'm advocating for in terms of this proposal, is that we make what we think conscious and seen together and listen to each other. So I think it's important, but I'm curious about other communities of focus, other groups, other people that are out there wrestling with these same questions. And if even if
You're gone again, Tammy. As your computer, I think, is doing the
a la quantum mechanics.
So it's a question of getting people together. The easiest way is with modern technology. I'm not sure about the vibrational level. Could be magical thinking, but just could be. Maybe it really works, because I noticed that my body has a hard time when it comes out of the Feinkörper, of what is it? The Feinkörper.
Subtle body.
Subtle body, right.
Energies, yeah.
So to increase your subtle body, and what I've been waiting to hear for is the word empathy. So empathy with those in need and those troubled, and how to get people in authority or in power to really connect to empathy. This is something that's not done. It's too dangerous. You have to sit back. You have to build walls. We have this problem now that our government has wanted to build a wall around the house of government, and then people felt that they were protected, but us not. So it was very funny, and then nobody wanted their responsibility for building a small wall against terror attacks. So things are getting really ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah, it is.
But as you have mentioned, the earthquake victims, if you go into action, or in doing, not just being, in doing, your empathy has to lead you. It's and of course your own intellect as well, because we have now a young conservative member in the government, and he sort of has a very quiet. You can feel it. I don't know whether he meditates or not, but he's very quiet, and on the same time he has a very far way of looking into the future. What will happen if we continue the way we do? And he is so much hated by the left. They really hate him because he is rational. He is rational and not just... And that's because we have elections now in September, now in October. And one of the slogans is, it's time for a change. It really is time. So what actually Obama did in the United States, because to continue, the government to continue in a coalition as they did up to now, it's just stalemate. It doesn't work. And this kind of stalemate, to overcome it by empathy and intellect. So heart and brain connected.
Yeah, and be also wise, you know, and not only by ideology, empathy as ideology, and then we have to have 50% of women have to be engineers. No, yeah. This famous thing which happened on Google, no, because there are only 20%, and somebody dared to say that maybe women are not so much interested in doing the stuff as they do, you know, and then he was called misogynist or something like that. I mean, see the reality and act as it is in a wise way, and see also the consequences of what is of what you are doing. I mean, whoever is there to decide. And as soon as somebody is driven by ideology, it's the same thing as you said before, by protest. You know, this is just narrow like this, and you cannot see anymore, and you cannot think rationally anymore. And so it's really good. I really do like people who are also conservative, because we don't have to forget that we have the conservative part in us. And when we try to throw it away, it really is not a good idea. To find a good balance between conserve something and go ahead and you know, get that together, instead of wanting to be only progressive and do all sorts of I don't know what, you know. So
the amazing thing is that people now, all other parties now repeat what he said in the beginning with regard to migration, and our social system can't keep up with everybody coming from Africa. But actually, that's something you really, when you count 1 and 1 and 2, you get to 3. So and you get to 4, and you get to 5, and you get to 500, 5,000, 5 million. So to change this, to really find different levels of approaching the problems, the challenges. We don't have any problems anymore. We just have challenges now, which is also a very nice word.
But even then, I think it's the way I perceive the world. I'm living in a city where they had, at the peak, they had more than 8,000 refugees here, and we have been able to deal with that. It doesn't mean no problems at all, but compared to other cities where they said we cannot cope with 100 people. So it's also a matter of coming up with great solutions, talking about what's possible. How can we invite the people of the city to support that? They came up with all kinds of dealing with it. So some cities came and said, how did you do it? And they want to adopt their procedures. So knowing from each other about the best solutions, and being willing to change my worldview to deal with something, I think it's unsurmountable. That's I think that's also a question that we have to ask ourselves, that we are not coming from, we are living on this side and we don't have a clue how it's going to be on the other side. So between emotions, rationale, intelligence, and visionary way of being with it. So having that all together and being able to say, okay, like Kennedy said, we will go to the moon in this decade. And NASA said, he's crazy. How are we going to do that? And then they took it on and did it. So if we think it's not solvable, doesn't mean it's not.
So I'll jump in while I have a second. It's been kicking me off after just a few seconds, but I want to thank you.
Yeah.
You are gone again, Tammy. It wasn't the day for you to present your stuff. We will do that another time. But still, we are already in the middle of the what can be done, and that was, I think, the middle question, and the third was what would we do. So, are you back, Tammy? Can you speak? Let's see. I think you are frozen.
She's back. For me, there's a question. I would be very interested in looking deeper into what you're doing and maybe participating, Tammy, and seeing what I could contribute. And so how can we do that? Meaning, what could be the next steps, because you have a timeline till when you have to hand it in. So I would think this would be important that we come up with something, or you say till when we can contribute or have another conversation or whatever. So I think to leave it that way and then have another conversation in a month would be too late to do what you want us to do.
Yeah, she's gone. So we have to finish the call between us. We can go to the question, what would you do personally? You begin already, Gertraud. What do you think you could contribute? Maybe
I would like to have a conversation with Tammy and understand exactly what to do and how we could contribute, and then take that on. Either yes, I can, or maybe it's not my task. But I would really love to know before I can make any decisions, and then let's see how we can support you or contribute to that, whatever, to the challenge.
So I would invite you, Tammy, to create a little video for us where you say everything what you would have liked to say today, and we can watch it and we can also post it so that other people can see it too. And the question is, what exactly can we contribute? How can you see our contribution? What would you need? And what are the modalities? I think that would be interesting to know. I think it's useless to try it today with this technical conditions. But if you create yourself the video and let us know, in short time, because it's useless to wait another month, you know. So that would be nice.
Didn't you say September 30th?
So I'd likely the 22nd. I'm asking for any contributions to it so that they can be incorporated prior to September 30th. So what I'll do is I'll give you access to all of the documents, and I can make the little video as well. But access to the documents. The proposal is about 15 pages long right now, and I would say that it's maybe 60% there. There's a couple of people that are also working with me on it, but any comments would be really valuable, as well as suggestions.
Yeah, do it anyway, the little video for the watchers who might come to the website or to the YouTube channel, so that we can send them to your little video. And if they're interested, then they can contact you and come into the list and get the documentation. I think that would be the best idea. She is frozen again. It must be cold there in Canada. I don't hear you, Monica. You must switch yourself on.
Maybe it's solar flares.
Yeah, that can also be
eruptions on the sun.
I would bring in Meg Wheatley before I forget that, who is talking about the system of influence, and she is saying that first we have loose networks and people work together in their own interest. So I'm attending a group that, because I need something and then I contribute to the others, but it's kind of loose. And when they come together, this is the second layer, is more like a community of practice, may it be the salon or whatever. And these are people that are dedicated to certain whatever. And they coming together form a system of influence. So there is this networking, what you said at the beginning, Tammy. What do we need is that there is a common knowledge. There is a common communication and what do you say, combination that people can share. And then they are in that new realm of possibility. And then they are being able to have that system of influence, which will change the environment in which it is created. It could be in a smaller scale, but also for the world. And she says in their research, they have never seen anything that didn't work that way. So it always has to be a system of influence that the whole thing changes. So industrialization or whatever, that always had this third layer that it could infuse the whole system.
This is somehow how my question answered, no? How many people want it, and not in the number, but how is it structured? That first a loose network, as we are now. Maybe we come together with other people and are closer and do something more together until we have this. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's a matter of scale, but it's a matter of density in which this common knowledge or this shared vision that working together is coming closer together, and that people know from each other and are not isolated. So it becomes more and more effective and more what do you say, influential. Till the whole thing tips and the new reality is born.
What is the name of the woman you said before?
Margaret Wheatley.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the system of influence.
Thank you.
I find the link to her.
Okay, send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, I would say we say goodbye and say thank you that you all were here, despite of all the challenges before and in the middle, and hopefully not after. And yeah, and we will see how that works out. And we hope that somebody will find some value in what we are working out and join us and join Tammy with her endeavors. And join us in the Wisdom Factory, and Monica in Vienna when you are in Austria, and Gertraud with her book. Read her book. Important.
In German, yes. I have to translate it.
Yeah, it will be out in English soon. So thank you, everybody, and I close the recording at this point. Bye.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, I can